Apple, everybody knows Apple. They're pulling their inspiration, I guess, from James Bond in designing a hidden camera in a new watch that supposedly is coming up. They received a patent for a camera attached to the band, allowing the person wearing it to rotate or, I guess, even detach to snap a photo, make a video call, that kind of thing. The system would feature a unique band connecting the Apple Watch with a magnet, maybe a latch, allowing it to be easily removed and then reattached. And bottom line, I guess, if you're into those high-tech kind of things, it's sort of bringing James Bond to life, right? With me to talk about this and other things, John Rizvi, the patent professor. He's an adjunct professor of patent law at Nova Southeastern Law School in Florida. Sir, how you doing?
Yeah, it's good. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Tell me how this thing works. Let's just say I've got one on my wrist right. I don't even wear a watch. But let's just say I've got one of them on my wrist. What can I do with this thing?
Okay, well, this may be the watch that gives you a reason to wear a watch. We'll see. So it has this camera that detaches, and I think what they're trying to go for is replace the cell phone. So far, Apple Watches are great. They do save a lot of time. People can send texts, receive messages, but it doesn't. They still always want to bring their cell phone with them. For example, if you go to the gym and you want to take selfie videos while you work out, you might have an Apple Watch for your heart rate and everything else, but to take pictures, you can't. So this is something that would allow you to do that, and the fact that the camera detaches means that you can place it at some distance away from you and take like a selfie mode.
So it's all about because honestly, with I've got a pretty advanced cell phone. But I also get to email through that and that kind of thing. I don't take many pictures. I might take a picture of the dog once in a while, but that's, I'm pretty much rest assured nobody cares what I'm having for lunch. So I don't do that kind of thing. But I know a lot of people do, right?
Right, and maybe and I guess it's getting closer to the one fewer device. I mean, at one time, there were separate digital cameras, completely separate from a cell phone. So that was a combination of the camera and the cell phone, which now you speak to anyone that's younger, I would say even under 30, they can't even imagine a cell phone that doesn't have the ability to take pictures. They can't imagine them as having separate devices for pictures and a camera. So, I mean, I guess the hope from Apple's standpoint is to bring that same kind of combination to the wristwatch to where people would not, cannot imagine a wristwatch not having the ability to take pictures. And whether that's the world's actually going to go in that direction, I mean, who's to say? But there may be a lot more people like you and I that are not constantly capturing photographs, but they certainly have a niche market that they're targeting, and that's the market that is constantly taking selfie pictures with their cell phone. And now that Apple, with the wristwatch, you can actually make and receive calls. So this is one way to have one fewer device that you have to carry around.
Yeah, I get that. Professor, let me ask you about this, Professor, because I used to do the national commercials for AT&T. And every time they came up with a new product, they would send me one. And I don't even recall what the promotion was about, but this phone, and I'm not embellishing, it was maybe 3 inches tall and 1.5 inches wide. It was so small that it was useless. And, the promotion for that thing, I think, only lasted about 2 or 3 months. But, I mean, if it's a wristwatch selfie you're taking, I'm sorry, isn't that pretty small? I mean, compared with your cell phone, even cell phone pictures can be, pretty hard to see.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then you're talking about even a smaller screen to receive to see the picture. So it's going to, in other words, you're saying you might defeat the purpose because
right.
you receive a picture from somebody. If you need to have your cell phone just to have a larger screen to be able to see it, well, then you've got your two devices anyway.
Right. That's where I was going with that. I mean, I think it's kind of cool, and I know there are a lot of techies out there that are going to champion this thing. But if the pictures are so small off a wristwatch camera that you've got to download it someplace else to see it, then you're going to need two devices anyway, I guess. What do you think the people are going to think about this? What kind of audience is there out there for this?
Yeah, so it's hard to tell. And remember, this is a granted patent, and Apple may or may not actually end up launching the product. Sometimes, their Apple files and has 2,500 patents per year. Not all of them become products, but a lot of times it's really hard to gauge consumer demand in advance. I remember initially when tablet computers came out,
right.
like the iPad, for example, there were a lot of experts that really anticipated it to flop because a tablet doesn't have the power of a desktop or a laptop, and it's not small enough to really have the versatility of a cell phone. And they figured it was fitting this middle ground and really didn't do either function well. So it didn't have the portability of a cell phone. You can't put a tablet in your pocket. It's big and too bulky for that, and yet it didn't have the computing power that your laptop did, and it was expected to die. And the complete opposite. I mean, now I don't know how many years we are into them, but the tablet's not going anywhere. No,
you're right. You know what I've seen, though, Professor? More and more, initially I saw the tablet. A lot of execs had tablets and, people that worked in the business world. I don't see that much anymore, but I see a lot of little kids working on a tablet that's designed for children, right?
Yes. And in fact, there's apps specifically targeting them. So that's, sometimes it's a device gets, the hardware gets made, and it's really the software that ends up providing the real use. And a lot of that's been with cell phones as well. And the expression, there's an app for that. Without the applications, the utility of the cell phone would be substantially lower, right? It's the apps that really create value. So who knows? Maybe that's where the future of this device is going to lie. It's not because we don't have the apps yet for a removable camera on a wristwatch, but if there ends up becoming really well-developed apps that are made for this combination, then that may increase the utility and the usefulness, and maybe that's going to help spur, sales for Apple.
Talking with John Rizvi, the patent professor. He's professor of patent law at Nova Southeastern Law School in Florida. I only got about a minute or so left. What do you see coming down the road? The newest tech device that people can't wait to see hit the shelves?
Yeah, so I think right now anything artificial intelligence, AI related, and Chat GPT, new applications for that, new uses for that. There's a lot of talk of, some of it's negative, like potential job losses, in fact, from AI, which it's all really hard to predict. It depends on how sophisticated it becomes. Right now, it is a little bit clunky. It's not all that hard, I think, to tell something created by Chat GPT from someone actually doing the writing themselves. But that may change. These things may improve over time, and it would start having more practical applications. But I think for the near future, it's going to be really artificial intelligence related innovation is going to be a big part of patenting. Well,
a lot of people would argue that artificial intelligence has been honed in the nation's capital. I'm looking for any intelligence, to be honest. Professor, I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can talk again.